Good morning. Today, I wanted to share with you one of my absolute favourite quotes of all time. I love the poet Rumi, and many of you will know the poet Rumi and will have read a lot of his work. And he really spent a lot of his lifetime reflecting, going in and reflecting on his own life, his own soul, and also on the great soul, the great spirit, the universal soul. And one of his quotes that I absolutely love is the one that says, "Respond to every call that excites your spirit." Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I love that quote. Respond to every call that excites your spirit. And when I first heard or read that quote, it absolutely blew my heart, really blew my heart. I loved it. It spoke to something very deep within me. And I contemplated on that quote, and I have done many, many times, just gone back to that and thought about, what does it mean? The first word is respond. What does it mean to respond to life? Well, it's interesting because we talk about responding to life or reacting to life. And reacting to life is when we're not really quite in our power, we're not in our centre really, and we just come out with whatever is on our mind there and then, and we haven't had that time to reflect. Responding to life is when we are in our centre, we stand in that centre because we've taken time to learn how to stand in that centre, and then automatically we start to feel a sense of response from our power. So responding to life, actually the word response comes from, one of the roots is Latin, from sponse, and it means pledge. Actually it means to repledge, and I love that concept. I love the idea of pledging or repledging. It's like a promise, and it's a promise that we make to ourselves, a promise that we make to give to life, to make a contribution. So when we respond to any situation, it's really about what is my contribution to that situation in the here, in the now. So respond to every call. And again, I absolutely love that word call. It reminds me of the concept of calling, having a calling. And I'm convinced that every one of us has a calling within us. And one of the first events that I went to, it was a first Drew event that I went to. I went along because a friend of mine invited me, and she said, "Look, there's going to be a lot of self-pampering." And I thought, whoa, self-pampering, I love that idea. So I went along to be pampered. But I discovered far more than being pampered, and I loved that. But what I discovered was, in a way, the presence of my own soul, and it was a rediscovery. And I know that often as children we experience this wonderful connection with all of life, with the presence of who we are. And when I experienced that presence or reconnected with it in that moment, in that time, my experience there in that event, I remember thinking, wow, this is something I have to listen to. This is something that I have to really bring into my life on a daily basis. So responding to the call, a calling in your heart, a calling of your soul, a calling of the spirit. And it often brings us into a reflective mode, but we are drawn to something. There's something that we're drawn to. And that's what I often feel when I feel called to something. And not only are we drawn to it, we're drawn to something that inspires us. It's got to be something that inspires, that's something that we aspire to as well. So respond to every call that excites your spirit. Excitement. It's, again, another great word. It's not about letting things happen passively. It's about creating the situation, or doing our best to create the situation that we really want. And excitement means upliftment, being alive, feeling that surge of life moving through our body. So respond to every call that excites your spirit. And we come to that final, absolutely crucial word, spirit. And in Sanskrit, in yoga, you will have heard of the word Atma, which means soul, and it refers to the soul, the spirit, And there are times when we hear about the Jivatma, and there are times when we hear about the Paramatma. And the Jivatma is all about the soul that is experienced through the individual, through who I am in this present moment now. The Paramatma, Param means the great, universal, and Atma is the soul, so the great soul, the universal spirit. And we can often experience that universal spirit as well. So sometimes we hear the calling of that wonderful soul that is contained as ourselves within this body, within this mind, within this heart. And sometimes we hear the calling of the soul that is the great soul that is beyond us, more than us. It is within us and it is also outside. It pervades everything, all of life. So my question to you this morning is, how often do we hear the calling? And I'm going to take you through a wonderful listening meditation. It's only going to be a couple of minutes, but listening to ourselves within, listening to everything without. So in this moment now, let's close our eyes. Allow the eyelids to be gently closed over the eyes, and let yourself feel restful and peaceful in this moment. Lift up, lengthen through your spine. Feel that wonderful support of the spine through the whole body. And then take your awareness right into the center of your head, in that wonderful space. And draw the awareness over to the right ear. And listen to all the sounds in the room that you're in, or perhaps you're in the garden. Listen to all the sounds just through the right ear. You may notice that your right side may feel particularly alive and awake at this moment, and especially at the point of your ear. You may even be able to hear your breath through your right ear. And then gently draw your awareness back into the center of your head. Right to the center. And then continue to move that awareness across to the left side and the left ear in particular. So your center of hearing has moved over to the left ear, and listen. Listen to all the sounds with your left ear, just for a few moments. And draw that awareness back in to your center, to the center of your head. And then begin to drop the awareness down right into the heart center, through the throat, through the chest, into the heart center. And listen to all sounds surrounding you and within you through the heart. As you listen to those sounds, perhaps to your breathing, you may experience a very different kind of phenomenon as your center of hearing drops into the heart. And then gently bring yourself back up towards the center of the head. Bring your awareness back to yourself, your breath, and simply open your eyes. And I hope that that's a technique that you can use several times during this weekend, because it will take you into a space of listening with the heart, listening to the call of your own heart. So enjoy that technique, have the most wonderful weekend, and I hope you will always be awake to the calling that excites your spirit, and that your contribution will be one that you absolutely know is right and that you love. Take care. Om Shanti. I wanted to to share with you one of my absolute